Hey everybody, and welcome back to the garage. There definitely is a place in the workshop for 3D printers. I bought my 3D printer back in 2018, and in a short time I began to see the possibilities of how this new toy could become a valuable tool in the garage. From the beginning, I thought you needed to be some mechanical engineer or an industrial designer to make useful tools and to print them. That was until I found a site called Thingiverse. A quick search is all it takes to put your 3D printer to work, making useful tools for your shop. Here's a selection of prints that helped me in my shop. The first tool I ever printed was a CHEP Filament Friday clamping square. I made these back when I built my first printer, the Creality CR10, way back in 2018. I thought, hey, I just dropped 300 big ones on this thing. It better pay for itself real quick. The large clamps are great for glue ups, and the smaller ones make easy and accurate setup squares for my jointer. With my new printer, I made 10 painting standoffs. Some people call them paint pyramids or paint cones, whatever. I needed a bunch of them for clear coating cutting boards and making large tabletops, and my patience wouldn't let me wait one day for Amazon or whenever I made it to Home Depot. Speaking of cutting boards, I also made feet for them with my 3D printer. These green ones were for a plastic cutting board I made for a client. For some reason, there are people out there who don't want a wood cutting board, no matter how much you tell them how cool walnut and maple look. I also made some feet out of a rubber material called TPU that flexed a bit. These were a great seller. In the never-ending battle to keep the shop clean, I found this vacuum attachment for a pocket hole jig on Thingiverse. I had to modify it a little bit on Tinkercad to fit my knockoff pocket hole jig and my odd dimension vacuum hose. This was one of the best additions to the shop to keep the chips and the dust down. A couple of videos ago I was building a walnut record cabinet, and I bought a real nice track saw to help me not kill myself on the tibble saw. While it's a real treat to buy new tools, I did find out that it needed a couple of upgrades straight out of the box. First one is the dust collection hose didn't fit any of my hoses or adapters, so 3D printing to the rescue on this one. I made this adapter on Tinkercad, and when I printed it, I set the Z seam to random to give it a bit of texture. This really worked great, and in a short 3 hours, I had a perfect custom adapter. The second issue was, when I slid the saw along the aluminum guides, the ridges on the vacuum hose would snag on the sharp edges of the guide. Thingiverse had an answer to this problem too. Both of these prints have been working great for about a year now with no signs of problems. My second tool I made on the printer was a replacement part for my miter saw. Longtime fans of the channel know how much I enjoy a deal on Craigslist or Marketplace. So when I found this sliding miter saw for 40 bucks, I couldn't pass it up. The only issue was the pivoting lock knob was missing. I thought this would be a great project to design myself. Funny thing about this part is, when I made the attachment hole, I made it too small, so I heated it up with a lighter and press fit the knob in place on the saw. It hasn't moved in 5 years. My most recent print for the workshop is this phone tripod attachment. I've been holding my phone when I shoot video in the shop, like the miter saw knob clip I just showed. Kind of a pain to do and frankly to watch. So I asked the internet and they delivered on this beauty. I had some leftover blue silk filament that was just enough to finish the print. It's in 2 prints, one for the base for the tripod and one for the camera mount itself. I think it turned out really good. These are just a few of the ways I've used 3D printing to solve the problems in my shop. When I need to repair something or just need one of a thing, I tend to look on the internet for a 3D model and edit it to suit my needs. This newfound magic of 3D printing isn't without its faults though. Sometimes the prints fail, or worse, the printer breaks and needs an hour or 2 of repair. Thankfully, this is a rare event. Most of the time the print makes it off the build plate and I put it to use. Once I build and tune the printer, figured out most of the quirks of these cheaper 3D printers, I haven't had any problems with them in a long time. The Sunlu printer is great for large prints, but tends to be a bit slow.
the Ender 3 printer with the direct drive upgrade. It prints PLA, PETG, and TPU well, but has a kind of a limited bed size. My feeling is nowadays most printers on the market print well enough to spit out a simple design in PLA. It's when you need to print something more complex like ABS or carbon fiber, these bargain printers just don't compare to the $1,000 plus fully enclosed high-tech machines out there. I totally recommend using a 3D printer in the woodshop. It's a natural extension of creativity and fits really well into my workflow. Let me know in the comments how you use 3D printing in your shop and what your must-print tools are. Thanks for watching.